Mike, we're finishing up the underbody here on car number 2314, 1967. Shelby GT 350. The suspension is largely original as represented by the owner, who's had the car since 1971. Brakes are very original riveted, lower ball joints, original bolted in upper ball joints, which we kind of just learned about today. The camber was changed on the upper control arms. There's a hole that got drilled long ago to drop the upper control arm down a little ways to change it, change the way it handled when it was in the corners when they were racing the car. The floor pans are very original. They're very stout. The rails are original and they're in good shape. You can see some surface deterioration. You can still see a little bit of red oxide primer in various locations. This is probably the most scale that you'll see in the photos, but still, everything's still very solid. I'm hoping that light is useful because it's making it difficult for me to see what I'm doing. The floors are stout. There's a little bit of buckling from where the hoist pads went in here, and somebody did some improper lifting. And you can see that again here in the back of the rail as well on both sides. But all factory spot welds present along here. You can definitely tell nothing's been done. And this pinch weld along the inner and outer rocker looks very nice. You know, it's got some scale on it, but present with the age of the car. Again, a little bit of lifting hoist pad action there on both sides, mostly on the passenger side. We observe the casting numbers and tag information. We'll decode that when we get back in the office. Original leaf springs present. This area of the frame rail is more what it should look like. This radius comes down. There's a slight buckle right here that can be felt, kind of a protrusion in that rail. You can't really visually see it much. This is the other one I was referring to earlier, where likely the back end of the car went forward and this portion of the rail buckled. It went up, so it was probably straightened out, and then plate steel welded on here, which is about 1.5 inches thick, maybe by 12 inches long, going up to the center of the rail over the axle. Original exhaust hangers present. There's a cherry bomb H-pipe setup with aftermarket headers on the car currently. It's got some rust and scale on it, but probably still sounds pretty good. Shocks have been changed both front and rear. Excuse me?
Conies all the way around.
Yeah, Coney shocks. Back here, the splash pans behind the rear tires still have drain holes present. Don't see where they've been separated from the car and re-welded. Those structurally they look very original. Can't get good light on that one. Leaf springs have been dropped. There's lowering blocks in there about 1 inch. A little bit of heavier undercoat present, but I don't think it's been sectioned or repaired. It's just somebody coated up some heavier undercoat on this frame rail, and we took a measurement wheel center to wheel center on both sides, and that all looks pretty good. There's some seepage on this top loader, as you can see, but there's original yellow crayon marks present, original blue marks on the side of the case that were daubed on there as they were going through the tightening of bolts and such. Car's got a finned oil pan on it. As far as a new starter, new aftermarket starter, the seepage is really undetermined at this point, but there's nothing. We've been here for a couple hours. There's nothing pouring out on the floor from anywhere in the car. Little bit of front main weep there, and probably a little bit from the rear. So we're going to get it down, go through underneath the hood. This is a portion of it.
And just drop me a thing of a breather.
Last thing to note, there doesn't appear to be any front end collision damage. There's no tears in those die holes, and that support is nice and straight going across there. Same with the other passenger front rail. The suspension's largely original in this car. Idler arm's going to need to be changed, and not much rebuild seen, but the car still drives good according to the owner. A little bit of rust buildup on these brakes. They look largely original. Dust shield's the same way. Fuel tank doesn't appear to be leaking. No damage noted. And that's about it for the underbody.